I just come back from a dance class in London and I'm still buzzing, buzzing, buzzing. But more about that later. I have to ask you a really important question. Are you ready? What's the best gift that you ever got in your life? The gift, when you received it, it made you go, wow. It nearly made you cry. What was that gift? I want you to think about that really carefully because this is about the impact that we can make on someone else's life. So, and this video is about gift ideas for a bookish, cultured, classy, driven guy. Now, we all know that it's really difficult to get a good gift for a guy, right? But what's even more difficult is to get a gift for a bookish, classy, driven guy. Because I know that, because I am one of them, of course. Right? So what follows in this video are all the great ideas that are a lot different from all the things you would have given your husband, your boyfriend, or maybe you have a guy at the office or at university or a college that you fancy. So it's for those guys. This month I've been asking people, men and women, especially those who are really bookish and cultured, the best gift that they ever got. And what happened was earlier today, this evening, I was at a dance studio in London having my dance class, and I was with this really bookish girl. I was partnered up with this girl. You see, when I'm on the dance floor, I am Ryan Gosling. In my head, I am the thinking woman's Ryan Gosling. Don't judge me, just go with it, right? It works for me, right? So there I am on the dance floor with this girl. Let's call her, okay, if I'm Ryan Gosling, just for the sake of this video, just call her Emma Stone, or the British Emma Stone, because she is British. So we're dancing, and then when we had a little break, and we had to copy the instructor's little thing, and I just copied and she copied. And when we had a little break, I asked her the question that I asked you at the beginning of this video, right? What's the greatest gift you ever got? And what was that? What was the impact on you? And, you know, did it make you cry? So initially she said, oh my God, that's a really deep question, isn't it? So I said, look, I don't do small talk, right? Let's get to it. I mean, do you want me to talk about the weather? It is freezing. It's London in November. What else do you expect? So let's not talk about that. So I asked her this question. She said, you know, I hate gifts. Really hate gifts. I always tell everyone I don't want any gifts. And at that moment I thought, oh God, she's probably going to go and rant about gifts. But a bit like Sheldon in Big Bang Theory, always rants about how he hates gifts. So I thought she might be one of those. But then she gave me a really interesting response. What happened was she said, I hate gifts because what I like are experiences. Right? I thought, wow, I didn't think of that, because I already made a list of suggestions and based on all the other people who have told me these things. But here she was, a really cultured and intelligent, beautiful girl, telling me that she hates gifts, but what she wants are experiences. So immediately I thought, oh, I had an idea. I said, how about today you pack your bags, tomorrow I'll come over to your place and I'll take you for 5 days in Florence, Italy. How about that? She said, oh gosh, that would be amazing. Oh, I would love that. What she didn't realize that I wasn't joking. I said, I'm not joking. I'm serious. Let's do it. Tonight, you pack your bags. Tomorrow, I'll come and collect you. And we'll go for 5 days in Tuscany, in Florence, in Italy. So she just looked at me in a really serious way and she said, I don't think so. I said, why not? She said, I just met you. I just met you half an hour ago. So I said, yeah, but that's why the next 5 days we could spend the time to get to know each other. It didn't work. It didn't work at all. But so then we got back to dancing. But after the dance class, she stayed behind and we had a good chat. So the next segment is based on a lot of the good suggestions that she gave me, because I told her that I'm making this video, and she then had so many amazing ideas. And the first one, of course, is the one that I had with her. The idea, I mean, not. So the first one is to do with experiences rather than material things. And what I suggested is that one of my favorite novelists of all time is Thomas Harris. And the third novel in the Hannibal Lecter series is Hannibal, and some of the key scenes that takes place in Venice. Why Venice? It is the home of Italian Renaissance, and Hannibal Lecter loves all those cultured, erudite things. And he's actually one of my favorite characters of all time. I told her this to the British Emma Stone. So in Florence, Italy, you can book a holiday and go there. That then gave us an idea, which is that you can have thematic ideas to do with famous TV series or books. And one of the suggestions is Game of Thrones, which is a huge hit at the moment. So there are lots of holidays that you can take to Northern Ireland, Croatia, Spain, and other parts, Iceland. So that's one of the suggestions. Now, I'm going to put the links below so you can check exactly how you can book these holidays. These are really fascinating. You can go and have a look at where certain episodes were filmed. And they're not that expensive. Northern Ireland is not that expensive if you live in the UK. If you live in the United States or Canada, it might be a little bit expensive, but it's worth it because the Game of Thrones is ending. So it's best to get in there right now in 2019 while you get the chance, because we don't know what might happen in the future. So that's the first one. I mean, there are other places you can visit, such as Jane Austen and places where Dickens lived. But the second suggestion she came up with is even more amazing, which is extreme sports, right? So, because this is something the British Emma Stone, let's call her that, did. She went hang gliding, parachuting, all in a weekend. And but she went on her own. But what you can do as a couple, your boyfriend or you and your husband can go together. Sometimes some of these excursions are just for 2 days. Some of them are for a weekend. So you do that because it's a great way to bond. There's a great adrenaline rush, I'm told. So that's a good idea, right? But the other one is to do with dance classes. And there are some dance classes that's just for 6 weeks. Some of them run for 12 weeks. And the great thing about it is that they're fixed. So one example is that there are some classes they're on Tuesdays every 7 p.m. So you go there for 12 weeks. Or some of them take place on a Saturday, 2 p.m. Great. And you could be a professional couple, so you don't get too much time with each other. But when you have a fixed time like 7 p.m. Tuesday, it's a great time to spend with each other, but also it's a great exercise. Dancing is a great exercise. You might already know this. Plus it's very sensual. It can be a form of floor play, right? So not just floor play, but foreplay. You get the idea. So you do that, or going back to that, if you've been in a long-term relationship, let's say long-term, anything more than 3 years, you're probably a bit bored of each other, right? You are probably bored at the sight of your boyfriend or your husband. But when you go on one of these extreme sports, holiday or a dance class, it's a good way to revive all those passions in a strict way, because you got to copy all these moves, but at the same time you're bonding, and it's a great way to socialize with other people as well. So dance classes are fantastic for that. And the other thing is cooking classes. Again, this is something the British Emma Stone came up with, because she did Indonesian cooking. And you can do this as a couple. Again, you have a routine established. So you go to these classes, let's say Wednesday evening or Tuesday evening, and you learn Indonesian cooking, right? It's a life skill. There are many choices there. If you live in one of the big cities or towns in, say, England, USA, Canada, Australia, France, Sweden, there will definitely be classes like that. There will be meetup groups. I'll put a links below to any of those classes in London, but I'm sure you can find them. These are just gift ideas, right? The other suggestion from us is theatre, right? You have a cultured guy in London. In 2019, there are so many great shows coming at the Old Vic, the National Theatre, Royal Court, and many other theatres. And in New York, in Broadway, Bryan Cranston will be in Network, which is an amazing theatrical adaptation of the Paddy Chayefsky movie. And that play was here in 2017. Amazing, great play. And more about Bryan Cranston later, because if you love Breaking Bad, you'll certainly want to watch him in a Broadway show. So these are gift ideas. My first suggestion is Bryan Cranston's memoir, A Life in Parts. Now, have you seen Breaking Bad? You haven't? What's wrong with you? If you've seen Breaking Bad, you know it is one of the most iconic TV shows of the last 10 years, maybe of the last 50 years. And one of the great reasons behind for its brilliance is not just Vince Gilligan's amazing screenwriting, but it's also because of Bryan Cranston. And I knew Bryan Cranston back in the 90s when he was in Seinfeld, one of my favorite comedy shows of all times. You might have seen it. Now, the amazing thing about this memoir is it's not like every other celebrity. I don't usually read celebrity memoirs, by the way. It's not one of those. Because this one is written by Bryan Cranston himself. With you, some of the other celebrity memoirs is that they usually get a ghostwriter. Even the celebrity herself might not have read it. Right? But she'll be out marketing, signing autographs as if she's read the whole novel. Or, well, it might be a novel masquerading as an autobiography. Who knows which bits are true. But this one, I completely believe in the story. It's truly inspiring. And one of the themes of this video is about learning from others, especially this phrase, success leaves clues. I really believe in that. And this is a great actor who's now in Broadway, but when he first started, it was a real struggle. And I could relate to him because, believe it or not, exactly 10 years ago in 2008, I was trying to get work as an actor. And I even had an agent. But all I got were acting roles, extras, nothing big. And anyway, that's another story. So I was able to relate to Bryan Cranston's struggle, the young Bryan Cranston's struggle to get into the theatre, well, the theatre and film and TV. But then we know what happened, right? I don't want to tell you everything about it because read it, because it's about 250 pages and it's amazing. It's truly inspiring. It's moving. And what I suggest you do is that if your husband or boyfriend was really into Breaking Bad, he might not have the DVD because I watched it on Netflix like most people in England. But the box set is amazing because of the DVD commentary, the audio commentaries, which are really useful. If he's into learning about screenwriting or film directing, all the audio commentaries are really educational, and the whole series itself is a masterclass in screenwriting. So what I suggest, you buy the memoir and also give the box set as a gift, because that would be something different, and it's also something educational and inspirational. So Bryan Cranston, A Life in Parts. You will love it. If you have a bookish, cultured and driven husband or a boyfriend, it's likely he's really passionate about self-improvement. Now, who is the king of self-improvement gurus? Tony Robbins. Now, over the last 20 years, Tony Robbins has published so many amazing books. He's released a lot of audio books, and I use them every day. One of the reasons why I've been able to improve a lot in the last 5 years, because I started reading his books, using his strategies. I read them every day. And this is why I think if your husband or boyfriend is really into self-improvement, he might already be familiar with his work. But what I suggest you is that you buy a combination, because on Amazon you can get all these books. If you buy 2 or 3, you get special deals. So, and he has changed his life. I learned so much about diet and exercise and role modeling and so many other things because of that, because of Tony Robbins. So I really recommend you get these books, because it will change your guy's life and it will also change your life. And he really is. There are so many others who are doing the same thing, but a lot of them are just charlatans. They are just bullshitters. They haven't really had much success in life, but they're telling other people how to live. But Tony Robbins is the real deal. When you're in his presence or when you read his books, he inspires me, and he will inspire you to do great things. So I really recommend Tony Robbins. The collected works is all on Amazon. Follow the links, and he will really, truly change your life and your husband or boyfriend. One of the other truly inspiring gurus in self-development is Tim Ferris. And I've been using his books and strategies for over 5 years. And I mean, he made his breakthrough with this book, The 4-Hour Work Week. But the one that I use regularly is The 4-Hour Body. Now, this morning, really, it was freezing in November in England, but I went out running in the Hertfordshire countryside because one of the main reasons is because of him. Exercising regularly for the right reason, as he's given here, can have an amazing impact on your life. I mean, you already know that anyway. But reading books like that, it is refreshing because he uses all these scientific research in a really quirky way. One of the tips that he says, and I use regularly, is to eat a tablespoon of almond butter before you go to sleep. And when you get up in the morning, you feel fantastic. I won't tell you why. Read the book and find out. Tim Ferriss also has an amazing, really interesting chapter on sex, how to improve your sex life, stamina and all that. And that works. I don't want to go into too much detail. Again, read it. You might not need much help in the area, but if you do, it's all in here. What else do you need? He has 2 other great books, The Tools of Titans, all about billionaires and their mindset. Again, really instructive and educational, inspirational. And also Tribe of Mentors, amazing. The routines and habits that form great men and women. And I find that I use all these books regularly. Tim Ferriss also has an amazing YouTube channel that I watch regularly, and I'm going to put the links to all these below. So I really suggest, again, Tim Ferriss, a truly inspiring self-development expert. He's one of those people who really are inspiring. They're not just talking, they can really walk the walk as well. So Tim Ferriss. My next suggestion is a novel and a TV series. When I first read Liane Moriarty's novel, I just read it as a sample on Amazon, but the first paragraph got me hooked instantly. So I had to buy the book, and then I started reading about it online, and I realized that this was being adapted by David E. Kelley, one of my favorite screenwriters of all time, famous for Ally McBeal back in the 90s, and my sister and I used to watch it religiously. But he had disappeared for a long time. He had a lot of personal problems, so I was so excited. And what had happened is that the novel is set in Australia, but the TV series has moved to USA. And the book by itself is a story about a group of women who are ambitious, complex, and strong. And it's about, there is a great plot there as well. I'm not going to say anything. You might have already seen it, but if you haven't seen it, read the novel first and watch the series, but more importantly, give it to your husband. Here's the problem that I've seen with a lot of men. Most men don't read many novels, right? Even when they do, they might read, I don't know, a novel by Dan Brown or Lee Child or Michael Connolly. They don't read many novels by women, right? So this might be the first book that your husband reads that's written by a female author, other than the Jane Austen novels he read when he was 16 at school, right? So this is going to be a great opportunity. Get him to read more women novelists. But going back to the adaptation, this is a masterpiece. If your husband or boyfriend is into, studying great TV, or if he's into screenwriting, he has to watch this because it is a masterclass in screenwriting. I've been telling every screenwriting or novel writing friend I know to read the book and watch the TV series, and also study the scripts that are available for free online, because we are living through this golden age of TV, as I said before. And one of the reasons, because a lot of great TV shows are being directed by film directors. This one is directed by Jean-Marc Vallée, who directed Wild and Dallas Buyers Club, for which Matthew McConaughey won that Oscar, and when he gave that great speech. This TV series is amazing for so many reasons. It's funny, it's moving, it has a gripping plot, and 2 of the best performances come from Shailene Woodley and Nicole Kidman. But my favorite character in the TV series is played by Reese Witherspoon. She is hilarious. She also co-produces the TV series. There will be another season, and I really recommend this because not just because it's got a great story and it's a beautiful adaptation, but because it's a good chance for you as the wife or the girlfriend to get your guy into reading novels by women, right? So I hope I do this to you. Now, Vladimir Nabokov, one of the greatest novelists of all time, one of my favorites, said that for a long time he had been shamelessly homosexual in his reading habits. So then he changed that and he got into Jane Austen and gave lectures about it. And over 10 years ago, I used to be like that. But then I decided I've got to read more novels by women novelists. So in the last 3 years, I've been reading a lot more novels like Big Little Lies and The Husband's Secrets. So I hope this suggestion, I hope you follow this up and get yourself and your husband into this novel if you're not already into it. Here it is. You are a bookish couple, right? So obviously you go to the theatre. So my next suggestion is Unmasked, the memoir by Sir Andrew Lloyd Webber. You don't need me to tell you who he is. Evita, Joseph and the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat, Phantom of the Opera, and many other Cats and many other great shows in London, Broadway, and all across the world. And this is just part one of I hope many volumes to come in the next 10 years. I'm learning a lot from this book. In a few seconds' time, you're going to think I am suffering from delusions of grandeur, or I'm a bit crazy, right? But just hear me out. This volume chronicles so many great achievements. He says that he says this book is about the most boring man he knows, but actually, this is about one of the most inspiring figures in show business. Success leaves clues, as I always say. And studying this memoir was inspiring for me because, again, here comes the delusions of grandeur part. This year, I won a major competition for playwriting, and that play, Taylor Swift's Dog, went on a tour of England during the summer. And it had performances in London, at a really respectable off-West End theatre at the New Diorama. And of course, I'm writing many other plays. I'm not saying I'm going to be as huge as him. It would be great. But it's about the lives that great artists lead and about the journey from being a nobody to becoming a somebody and making a cultural impact on the world. And I spent the first 13 years of my life in a country in a third world that was torn apart by civil war. And then my sister and I escaped to England. When I came to England, I didn't know a word of English. Well, I knew about 6 words. More about that at another time. And then this summer, I had a play at an off-West End theatre. There is the journey, right? Maybe that's volume 1 of my memoir. I'm writing a novel at the moment. This is why I don't want to say too much about those first 13 years, because the first novel tackles the life that my sister and I had in that war zone, where we lost a lot of people. Going back to Sir Andrew Lloyd Webber, he's a great role model for someone like me and for many other artists, because it is about, even he has many doubts and anxieties and uncertainties. It's about how to overcome them and to create great works that become part of the consciousness of the world. And I'm learning a lot, but here it is. If you're a person of the theatre, if you're a bookish and cultured person, I'm sure you are, otherwise you wouldn't be watching this video. I recommend you buy this, and it is a great investment. And look into his life. It is truly inspiring. Unmasked by Sir Andrew Lloyd Webber. My next suggestion is The Lives of the Novelists by John Sutherland. He's profiling 294 novelists, all the way from the early days, such as Lawrence Stern and Samuel Richardson, and he brings it forward to the 21st century with some of our most interesting novelists like Paul Auster and his wife Siri Hustvedt. And in between, there are so many amazing novelists like Malcolm Lowry, as well as the usual people that we might expect in a compilation like John Updike, Philip Roth, Norman Mailer, and many others. What I love about this is that, here it is, usually most men don't like reading novels, as I said before, but you don't have to read all of it. Every now and again, you can just read one passage or one chapter about one novelist over breakfast or lunch, right? When he's having a break, he can read that. And if he hasn't got a good knowledge of the canon of Western literature, here's a great place to start, because it's far superior to Wikipedia, right? Because it's written by John Sutherland, one of my favorite literary scholars and professors of all time. He used to come regularly on BBC Radio to talk about literature. I wish I had him when I was at university, but I read almost every book that he's published. And he has an amazing style, very conversational style, but also erudite, obviously. And then I also read bits and pieces about novelists. I thought I knew about them, but I didn't. For example, there's lots of information about Isaac Asimov, H.G. Wells, interestingly, another science fiction writer, a pioneer science fiction novelist behind novels like War of the Worlds and Time Machine. Interestingly, in the 1890s, he married his cousin and had some children. And then there's more interesting bits about, again, Malcolm Lowry and others. So I really recommend this. This is one of those books that's where you can just dip in and out of it. That's what she said. So here is John Sutherland, 294 novelists profiled, far superior to Wikipedia, and this is really enriching. My next one is Finding My Virginity by Sir Richard Branson. This is a sequel to Losing My Virginity, but you don't need to have read that one to read this one. But of course, it's great to go on a journey with him by reading the first one and then this one. You might have already read it, but he has also published other books. He's a truly inspiring figure. You don't, obviously, I don't need to tell you who he is, but if you haven't read the first one, Losing My Virginity is a creation story. It's about the building of the Richard Branson brand and the Virgin Empire. But it's not really a business book. It's about the journey of a great man or a man who became great. And I always say success leaves clues. And here again, even in this book, because in the last 17 years, he has had so many setbacks and failures. And through that, we learned that because the first volume 1 had a lot more swagger. Here he has, it seems to be a life of consolidation because he's already a household name all around the world. And there are lots of funny and insightful and moving scenes with some of the most iconic figures in the world, from Barack Obama, Nelson Mandela, Mariah Carey, Novak Djokovic, and many others. And this is a guy who has touched the lives of many entrepreneurs. I've been following him for over 20 years, ever since those early in the mid-80s when he was going on all his adventures, which again are part of his way of building a brand, but also about challenging him. So that's the other thing. I'm interested in studying the mindset of great achievers. I'm sure you are too, and your husband and boyfriend, because, it's great to find out why some people go on to make a great impact on the world and others don't. They fail. And two of the key things that I learned from him is about the importance of having fun, and it's also about challenging yourself. And one of the reasons why I'm doing these videos, because I don't know, 2 years ago I would never have done that. I'm doing these videos because it's challenging and it's fun, and with every video I hope I'm getting better. If I'm not getting better, leave your comments in the comment section. But this is a truly inspiring book, and I recommend it because you can learn so much just by being in the company of a great guy. And as I said before, celebrities don't usually write their own autobiographies, but Richard Branson, he writes his own books. And sometimes on Twitter, he will put photos of scraps of paper with notes for this book. And I've been following him for a while, so I know this book was coming. So it's finally great to read it. So I'd really recommend it. Finding My Virginity by Sir Richard Branson. My next suggestion is It's What I Do by Lynsey Addario. Lynsey Addario is a photojournalist, and I have this great passion for reading about photographers and journalists in conflict zone, because my first novel that I'm writing right now is partly about a Western figure in a third world region. And so as a result, I've been reading a lot of Ernest Hemingway and his relationship with Martha Gellhorn, another wartime journalist, and then Marie Colvin. But Lynsey Addario is a truly modern figure, a figure for our age. And the title refers to the fact that she was someone who was used to going to war zones like Afghanistan, Libya, Congo, and to do her work. But when she got pregnant, there was a lot of conflict from other people. So the title refers to her identity as a woman and as a journalist in conflict zones. I find it again a really inspiring and gripping memoir. The photos are obviously beautiful, haunting in some places, and initially when it was first published, Jennifer Lawrence was supposed to be in a movie directed by Steven Spielberg. It seemed too good to be true. But now the latest news is that there will definitely be a movie, but this time it's going to be directed by Ridley Scott with Scarlett Johansson in the lead playing Lynsey Addario. I can't wait to watch that movie because in this book we know she had led had a truly challenging life. She was kidnapped in places like Libya, and we can learn so much of him about an inspiring figure. Again, I always said it in your success leaves clues. Right, this is an amazing, truly inspiring woman. Although this video is really for women who should be buying gifts for men, but I suggest that I think this is a book that both of you could read. It is amazing. Lynsey Addario, It's What I Do. My next book is Relentless by Tim Grover. Again, this is a book more suitable for men. Another great self-development book. But what's so different about this one compared to anything by Tim Ferris or Tony Robbins? Well, Tim Grover is an elite personal trainer. He's worked with some of the biggest names in basketball, for example, from Michael Jordan to Kobe Bryant, two of my favorite sports stars of all time. And this is about the mindset, managing the mindset. Also, he deals. Also, Tim Grover works with Kobe and others to do with their bodies. He also worked with them to do with their minds, which is the key. Now, there's a great passage in a book by Kurt Vonnegut where he says, if you want to become a great writer, study a great athlete. Right, that was a turning point in my life, and then when I started to study all the great sportsmen and women of our time, because Kurt Vonnegut says because he reasons it by saying that if you want to be a great writer, everything comes down to concentration and all the other qualities that we think about when we talk about iconic sportsmen like Kobe Bryant or iconic sportswomen like Angelique Kerber. And this book gets into that mindset. He has two categories, the closer and the cleaner. The truly elite men and women in sport are cleaners. And there's a reason for that. If you read it, you'll get to know what he's talking about. And there are some great strategies. One of my favorite examples is about how do you get into the zone where you just perform at your best. It's a bit like Cristiano Ronaldo taking a penalty. There's a way he gets into that zone where he's 100% certain the ball will go in, right? It's about that. But this is not really for sports people. Of course, it will be amazing, but it's for anyone who wants to achieve great things in any fields in life. And I've been using it for 2 years regularly. The strategies in there, together with books by Tim Ferriss and Tony Robbins. I think men will get a lot out of it. Of course, it would be good for women too, but some of the strategies he's suggesting are really masculine without going into too much detail, especially with the bit about going into the zone, the techniques he suggests there. I love it. I use it. I think if your husband or boyfriend is really into self-development and who's truly driven and single-minded, this book, Relentless by Tim Grover, is it. He's also given lots of great interviews, and I'm going to put a link to those below in the description box. So here it is, Relentless. Born a Crime by Trevor Noah is one of the most moving and inspiring memoirs I ever read in my life. Trevor Noah, most of us know him as the presenter of The Daily Show. But how many of us really know about the life he has led? Great men and women lead great lives. And as a storyteller, I'm always interested in that term, the character arc. How someone from virtually nothing becomes a somebody. We can see that in a novel, Great Adventures, but also in great biographies and autobiographies. This is a truly extraordinary man with a truly extraordinary life, and he's still so young. Born a Crime is a title that refers to what happened in South Africa in 1984. Under apartheid law, it was illegal for a white man to have sexual relationships with a black woman. What happened was that Trevor Noah's father was a white guy from Switzerland. His mother is a black woman from South Africa. So as a result, he was considered illegal. His mother was sent to prison. She was jailed. And what follows is an amazing story about how this boy, Trevor, through enduring all those years in poverty, became one of the household names in South Africa and now all around the world, especially in the United States. This is it, you see, going back to this thing about character arc. How did somebody become this great? What is the mindset of a great man or woman? Reading this gave me an amazing insight. This is just volume 1. There will be more, I'm sure there'll be many more volumes to come. And this is mostly about his childhood. It is moving, funny. There are some great scenes about his difficulties with girls, the early relationships, and I find it easy to relate to his embarrassing moments, and again, and also his journey into education, how he was always reluctant to do his work. And then what we also know about Trevor Noah is that once he made a name for himself in South Africa, tragedy struck. His mother remarried, and he had a stepfather, and but his stepfather was alcoholic. And one day, Trevor Noah's stepfather shot his mother in the head. Somehow, Trevor Noah's mother survived, and this is another one of those turning points in Trevor Noah's career. Despite all these challenges and ordeals, he managed to go to the United States, find a job on The Daily Show, and from 2015, he is now the main host of that great show. And I hope, if you're into reading about great men and women, Trevor Noah's Born a Crime is essential reading. I really hope you read it yourself, and also your husband or a boyfriend, because it's one of those lessons that reminds us how how great men and women are created. It's an amazing story. Born a Crime by Trevor Noah. My final suggestion is notebooks. Right, these moleskin notebooks were given to me as gifts by some cultured and bookish women who attended some of the shows of Taylor Swift's dog in the summer. I really appreciated that because when I was growing up in Sri Lanka, it was a war zone, and we didn't always have notebooks or pens. They were a real luxury. So in England, I have a fetish for notebooks, especially these ones. But the other point is that even in this age of technology, with iPads and laptops, I still like writing in longhand in a notebook. And I'm sure if you have a cultured and bookish boyfriend or husband, I'm sure he will like writing in longhand too. And I'm sure he goes through a lot of notebooks. I go through lots of notebooks every week. So that's my other suggestion. This is, compared to other gifts, this is in some way quite predictable, but at the same time, notebooks can live forever, unlike things you put in an iPad or iPhone. Because if you go to some of the great libraries in the world, university libraries, they have collections of notebooks and diaries by great men and women from the past, from Henry James to Nathaniel Hawthorne, Faulkner and Dickens, because notebooks written like this, they can live forever. Because I'm not sure what's going to happen to anything you write in a laptop, because no matter how hard you try to save it everywhere. I mean, I save everything I do on portable hard drives, memory sticks, and lots of other places, but they can disappear, right? Maybe I'm being paranoid, they can disappear, but these ones, if they're preserved, they're amazing. They also, and Martin Amis has this great phrase where when you write in longhand, you're preserving the archaeology of a piece of writing, because our handwriting changes from time to time. If you're writing something in an iPhone or an iPad, how do you know how you're feeling on that day? But handwriting can reflect your mood. So notebooks, I don't think you can go wrong with it, right? Notebook, especially Moleskine notebooks, iconic. Here they are. I hope I've given you some ideas that go against the cliches when it comes to giving gifts to men. Because don't forget, we're talking about men who are culture-driven, bookish, and I really hope I have been useful with these suggestions. I also like to thank the bookish British Emma Stone for some of her suggestions for earlier part of this video. We don't know what will happen with her, right? I'll vlog about it, whichever way it goes. Going back to the gifts, this is going to sound a bit cliched or cheesy, but the art of giving is not really about giving what you think the other person needs. It's about giving what the other person truly desires. And you would only know what the other person needs, in your case, your husband or your boyfriend, by putting so much time getting to know that person, right? And that's what I find. And it takes a long time to get to know somebody. I know couples who've been married to each other for over 10 years and they're still trying to discover things about themselves. And so in some ways, that's an art form, getting to know somebody. It's in the same way that when we're getting to know characters, or when I'm developing a character, I need to know everything about that person before I can start the outline for the story. And I think one of the things about giving a gift is really about getting to know that person inside out. So when you give something to the other person, you'll make somebody's day. Because earlier in the year, when one of these bookish and cultured women gave me a gift, it wasn't just the gift that made my day and my evening and my week, is that it was the card inside it. And in that, she had put a message that filled up the whole card. And it had two sentences which were so distinct that only she could have written to me. In a world of over 7 billion people, only she, who's a novelist, only she could have written that to me. Because why? Because it had bits of information that I told her over a year before that evening when she came to watch Taylor Swift's dog. So and these had two bits of information, and I was so flattered that she remembered. And this goes back to my observation that you can only get to know somebody over a long time, and that involves a lot of listening, a lot of great listening skills. And this amazing woman listened to what I had said. Somehow kept it quiet and then put it in this card and gave me two gifts, actually three gifts, that only I could have got. Right? So I think that's the real art. It's not really about the money that somebody spends. And it's also not about that cliche. It's the thought that counts. It's not really the thought that counts. It is the quality of the thought. And I think I've been lucky to have known so many interesting people, men and women, especially bookish and cultured women, who've given me gifts that meant a lot to me. And I hope I have given gifts to other people that made an impact. And I think ultimately life really is brief. So what we really want to do is make an impact on the lives of other people, make people's day, not just through gifts or material things, but by other things. But of course, when it comes to Valentine's Day, birthdays, Christmas, and any other festive occasions, we have a chance to make somebody's day. And I hope you get the chance to do that. Thank you for watching. If you think I've given you content that's really valuable, please consider subscribing. If you're already a subscriber, thank you so much. And click the like button. Thank you so much. And until the next video, have a great time with your boyfriend, husband, and make every second happen. Make every second count, because life is brief.